Hello, happy Saturday. Congratulations to all those people who were in the Blacks on Broadway PTDYA performance yesterday. It was fantastic. I had a great time. So, for today, we are thinking about percents and how you can talk about quantities that involve certain unknowns. Yesterday, when we were looking at the zombiometer, we knew the whole value and we knew the percent of the population that was being zombified. Looking at the problems we have today, it's not always so clear cut if you know the whole, the part, or the percent. So I'm just going to go through these problem by problem, and you're going to see that even though the numbers look the same superficially, they end up having a very different impact on the problem. So our first problem is this. Christian has seen 40% of the movies up for the Oscars this year. There are 20 movies up for the Oscars. How many has he seen? So we know that he's seen 40% of the movies and that there are 20 movies up for Oscars. If I want to know how many he has seen, I need to decide what information do I already know. The percent part is pretty clear cut. You see that percent sign, you know percent out of 100. Great. We know 40%. So then I have to decide, do I know the part or do I know the whole in this situation? Well, given that there are 20 movies up for the Oscars total, that would be my whole. My whole could be my total, my full amount, my all. So we know that the whole is 20. The part is the thing that we need to figure out. Okay? So given this, I can use a percent bar, just like the zombiometer, and I really want to be thinking about what information is paired together. I know 20 is my whole, so that needs to be 100%. I could put that on my percent bar like so. "20 movies would be 100%. Now, I don't know anything about my part, so I shouldn't be breaking anything up in the movies section right now. I need to think about percents, since I know 40%. Well, if I want to break this up so that I am going to pass through 40% at some point to get up to 100%, I need to think about numbers that would go into both 40% and 100%. Now, I could count by ones and just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Or I could go by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's going to hit 40 and 100. I could also go by fives, fours, honestly, fives, tens. Tens feels like it might make sense here, because I could go 10, 20, 30, 40, but actually what's going to be the most efficient thing would be for me to go up by 20s. 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, 100%. So I'm going to do that, because I'm looking for efficient strategies, and while the other ones would work, this doesn't make me break things up into as many pieces. So I'm going to break my percent bar up, and I'm going to label all of my percents. So now that I have this broken up, that's going to give me the information that I need to break my movies up. I know that I've broken this up into 5 pieces, since I've cut it into 20% increments. So 20 divided by 5 is going to tell me what the top should look like. I'm going to have 4 in each category, because 20 broken up into 4 parts would be, 20 broken up into 5 parts would be 4. That's because each of these is going to have 4 movies in it, and I'm going to count up 4 movies, 8 movies, 12 movies, 16 movies, 20 movies to get to my whole. Now I need to just see what's 40%, what lines up. Well, if I find 40% here, that lines up with 8 of my movies. If I were to shade in all the way here, I would end up with 8 movies. Telling me that the part here is 8 movies that Christian saw out of the 20 movies total. That makes sense, because I know if he's seen 40% of the movies, he's seen less than half of them. 8 is less than half of 20, so that feels like that would make sense. Alright, for our second problem, we still have 40 and 20 rolling around here. Cameron has seen 40% of the movies that were nominated for Golden Globes this year, and he has seen 20 of the movies. Let me repeat that. Cameron has seen 40% of the movies that were nominated for Golden Globes. He has seen 20 of the movies. How many movies were nominated? So like in the previous problem, I know my percent. It's pretty obvious because it says 40%. I have to decide the 20 movies that he's seen, is that the part or the whole? The question was how many movies were nominated. That makes me think that I'm looking for a total number of movies that were nominated. If he's seen 20, my whole then is what is missing. So in this case, I don't have a whole number that I can put with my 100% yet, but I do know that I'm trying to get up to 100%. So this is the information that I have so far. I can break it down to get to 40% again. I'm just going to use the same setup that I used the previous time. I'm going to go up by 20%, which means that I'll pass through 40% and I'll get all the way up to 100%. Now what's different this time is my 20 is not the whole. My 20 needs to line up with 40%. Because 20 is the 40% that Cameron's seen. He's seen 40%, he's seen 20 movies. So I'm going to put 20 there. Well, if I'm going from 0 movies to 20 movies, and I have 2 chunks, how could I split this up so that I'm going to go from 0 to 20? I could split it up into two pieces. That would mean that I would start with 0 movies, go up to 10 movies, go up to 20 movies. So each of our chunks has 10 in it. 10 movies. If each of my chunks has 10 movies in it, then I could keep counting up 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 would be the whole. Means that altogether there were 50 movies that were nominated for Golden Globes. Again, looking to see if this makes sense, well, we know that Cameron has only seen 40% of the movies, so he's seen fewer than half the movies, and he's seen 20. 20 needs to be less than half of my whole. If there were 50 movies total, 20 movies would be a little bit less than half, so that makes sense. Now for my last one, I'm not given a percent. Dylan has seen 20 of the movies that are up for Razzies Razzies this year. 40 movies are up for Razzies. So what percent has he seen? That's kind of a clue. What percent? We don't know that. Well, he's seen 20 of the movies, and there were 40 movies total. So I know then that my part has to be 20, and my whole has to be 40. And that tells me 40 movies would be 100%, because 40 movies is the whole. We're always trying to get 100%. That's kind of a good starting place. Now I know nothing about the percent yet, so I should not be breaking things down by percents first. Here we went to our percents first. Here I need to focus on what I know. I know 40 and I know 20. How could I split this up so that I'm going to go through 20 on my way to 40? Well, again, I could count up by 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could count by 2s. That would go through 20 and get to 40. I could go by 4s. 4, 8, 12. That would get to 40. I could go by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, etc. I could go by 10s. 10, 20, 30, 40. I could go by 20s. 20, 40. That would be going up as well. Why don't I do that? That seems like the simplest way to split this up for me. So I could go from 0 to 20 to 40. Well, at that point, I have only 2 pieces to get from 0% to 100%. So if I'm going to split my 100% up, I would have to have 50 in either of these. So it would go 0, 50%, 100%. Saying that 20 movies out of 40 movies has to be 50%. That also matches some information that we already know about fractions. If I were to do 20 out of 40, my part out of my whole, I could take that fraction and simplify it, could reduce dividing both of them by 20, and I would have 1/2. And half, or 1/2, corresponds to, actually multiply by 50. We know we would have 50 out of 100. This is if you didn't already know the percent benchmark. 50 out of 100 is 50%. 50 out of 100. So we know that then that would have to be 50%. All right, so for these three, numbers looked the same, but given the context, you ended up with very different things going on. Then we looked at two problems that left the context behind. So we have just 15 is what percent of 50? Well, the what percent should be a clue that we don't know the percent. That's unknown. So 15 is what percent of 50? I'm comparing 15 to 50. So 50 would be my whole, and 15 would be my part. Of the first three problems, problem number 3 looked like this, where we knew the part, we knew the whole, and we didn't know the percent. So the way we did it in problem 3 was we looked at our whole, and we knew that that was 100%. And then we had to try to find some way that we could get through 15 on our way to 50. Well, I could count by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could count by fives, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. If I counted by tens, 10, 20, I would skip over 15. So I need to do by fives. So I'm going to count up by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. To do so, I need to break this up into 10 pieces, because 50 divided by 10, 50 divided by 5 would tell me that I have 10 pieces I need to cut this into. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I need to get to 15, so I'm going to shade in up to 15. And then I know that I need to cut 100% up into 10 pieces as well. And that's going to give me 10% chunks. So I would go from 0%, 10%, 20%. Gets me all the way up to 30%. Notice that anything I'm cutting up by, since I'm cutting it into 10 pieces, I need to cut it into 10 pieces down here. So we've got 30%. Now for the next one, if 4 is 5%, what is the whole? Well, the problem already kind of tells you what we don't know. We don't know the whole. We know 5% must be our percent, and 4 is that 5%. 4 is the part here. So we know that 5%, we know 4. That looks like the second problem of the day, where we knew our part and we knew our percent and we needed to get up to the whole. That tells me I should be leaving my whole blank, but I know it's 100%. And now I need to get up to 100% going through 5%. 5, 10, 15, 20. Let me do it that way. If I'm going to go up by fives, that means I need to take 100%, cut it up into groups of 5, which tells me that I'm going to have 20 pieces here. And I can do that. It's going to take a little while, but I can do so. So I'm going to start by cutting it into 4 pieces, and then each of those I could cut into 5 pieces. That way you're not sitting there and realizing that you actually didn't make enough cuts. And now I'm going to have 20 pieces on my entire percent bar. That tells me I just need to get up to 5%, which is great, because I already know that 5% is 4. So that tells me that just that little piece right there that's filled in, that is 4 on its own. So I would have to put 4 in each of these, 4 all the way through 20 times. 4, 4, 4. Be more efficient than adding up 4 20 times. You could just do 4 times 20. And that would give you a whole of 80 if you did 4 20 times. Okay? So what I want you to notice with this is there is not just some magic calculation that you do. You shouldn't just take your two numbers and multiply them or divide them. You really need to be reasoning about what information you have, what information you don't have, and operate using what you have so that you can break up that 100%. But when we're thinking about a whole quantity, the all, that is always going to be the 100%. Okay. All right, have a great weekend. Let me know if you have any questions.